A brand new Ferrari isn't cheap. This, for example, is a brand new 2017 Ferrari 488 Spider, and it costs around $350,000. I borrowed it from a viewer here in New Jersey so that I can show you exactly why it's worth it. We'll start back here in the most obvious place. The 488 has a turbocharged V8 that makes 670 horsepower and 560 pound-feet of torque. It does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It's monstrous. But a lot of cars are fast. The 488's allure goes well beyond its performance. So today I'm going to give you a little tour of this car. I'm going to show you all of its weird quirks and cool features, and then I'm going to take it out on the road to find out exactly how a $350,000 Ferrari drives. And of course, there's more if you click the link below to check out my column on Auto Trader Oversteer. I'll start the tour by pulling on the 488's rather unusual door handles to open the door, and the first thing you notice is something interesting about the steering wheel. In this car, everything is on the steering wheel, and I mean everything. You want to put on the turn signals? All you got to do, push the turn signal button with your thumb. Want to push the horn? It's right up here. Again, push it with your thumb. Flash the lights? Put on the wipers, even turn the car from sport mode to race mode to wet mode. You can control the suspension system from the steering wheel, and you can even turn off and on the car. Once you get in this thing and you put your hand on the wheel, you really never have to take it off. But that's not the coolest part of the steering wheel. The coolest part is the red LEDs on top that light up when it's time to upshift. Here's something else I love about this car. You're sitting in the passenger seat of a normal car, and maybe you're wondering, what gear are we in? How fast are we going? Well, in the 488, you don't have to wonder because the passenger side has its own screen right under the airbag that tells you all of the important information that the driver gets in his gauge cluster. And you can cycle through different views too, like the current speed, but also the maximum speed and the average speed, your trip odometer and travel time, and various performance level readouts. But that's about the only fun you'll have as a passenger because everything else in this car is designed solely for the driver. The best example of this is in the middle, where the infotainment screen isn't in the center, it's right here in the gauge cluster. While the passenger has access to the climate controls, even the stereo controls are tilted towards the driver. This, for example, is the volume button. If you're the passenger and you want to change the tunes, forget it. Speaking of the middle, it's also home to a cup holder. Sort of. And since this car starts with the buttons, the center also includes a nice little spot to store the key so you can look at it while you're driving. Moving further along, the glove box is divided into nice tidy little sections, which is something more cars should do. And the air vents aren't exactly the rectangles in your car. Instead, they have these severe shapes, perfectly positioned to blow air on the driver and passenger. Less perfect is the location of the heated seat controls, which are on the side of the seat where nobody could possibly see them. The strange thing is they're numbered, even though you'll never be able to see what the numbers say. And then there are the door panels. Now, this is the door panel, obviously, and on it you'll find the door latch, of course, and also the front trunk release and the fuel door release. You'll also find the power mirror switch, but you won't find the window switches or the lock and unlock button. To find those things, we'll have to go hunting. Now, the window switches are located in the center console, which makes enough sense, but the power locks, they've got to be around here somewhere, in some logical placement, right? No, they don't. They're located on the ceiling. Right next to the towing mode button you'll never use is the lock and unlock button you'll use all the time. But back to the cool features, like how a few buttons over here let you check out turbo efficiency and turbo response. You can also adjust the vehicle dynamics, and you have a lap timer for track use. And then there's the best part, the pit speed button. Use it when you're on a track day to set a maximum speed for pit lane so you don't accidentally violate the speed limit when you're making a pit stop. I bet you don't have that in your Toyota Camry. You probably also don't have this amazing instrument panel with 3 parts. On the left, the vehicle settings. In the middle, this gorgeous tachometer that also tells you what gear you're in. And on the right, the infotainment system, which also doubles as a sharp camera with a lot of various different angles.
Now, another one of my favorite features in this car is the front axle lifting system. That's right. Ferrari knows that the car is pretty low, so you might have trouble clearing obstacles like driveways and speed bumps. So, push a little button inside the car and the front axle actually raises up to give you extra ground clearance. When you've cleared whatever obstacle you need to, push the button again and the car goes right back down to normal.
Another cool exterior detail, you've undoubtedly seen car company logos in wheel center caps, but have you ever seen them on the tire valve stem cover?
But of course, one of the most important things about the 488 Spyder is that it's a convertible. So how do you put the top down on a 488 Spyder? Well, you pull a little switch inside the cabin and then it goes down in sort of an unconventional way.
Watch closely. The rear sticks up like normal, but then the top just sort of folds back on itself rather than retracting like the roof in so many other convertibles.
And then there's my favorite feature about the 488 Spyder. Let's pretend you don't want to put the top down, but you want to hear that glorious exhaust note. Well, push a little button inside the car and this window rolls down. That means from the inside the car, you can still hear everything that's going on back here without actually having the roof down. That is a really cool idea. And then we get to the front trunk. Unlatch the front trunk and you'll find it's actually surprisingly roomy up here. And I mean really surprisingly roomy. I had a Ferrari 360 and I think it had about half this much trunk space. The 488's front trunk is also home to two other rather interesting features. Number one, in all cars sold in the United States, it is mandated that there's a little latch inside the front trunk that you can use to escape in case you get caught in there. In the 488's trunk, the latch actually depicts a guy getting out of the trunk of a 488. The other cool thing about the front trunk is that inside the trunk there's this well-made panel that shows all of the cool personalization options that you've selected for your 488. Some of my favorite options in this car include exterior sill kick in carbon and carbon fiber central bridge.
Beyond the features, the 488 is also worth so much because it's beautiful. And I mean truly beautiful. The 488 and its predecessor, the 458, are two of the most attractive cars ever made, some of the closest modern cars to rolling works of art. Beauty is subjective, and I know some people disagree with this, but to me, this car is absolutely gorgeous. And what about the driving experience? Time to find out.
Let's drive the 488. It's not crazily low. It's not as low as like in some cars. That is with like zero throttle. This car has so much life. Now the ride is a lot more punishing. You instantly feel than the California. Don't you think? You can clearly feel right away. We can feel the bumps a lot more. If you're not into that, then there are a lot of other cars that you could buy. You know, this is for people who are like, screw it. I want the best possible driving experience, and I'll put up with that. You know, it's so funny, these old Italian cars, the old ones were so compromised. Like the pedal box was too small and there was all this stuff you had to put up with, and these new cars are just engineered so that anybody can drive them and drive them fast. Transmission is so smooth and so quick. It's just very clear this car was engineered for like one purpose, and that is just speed. You do put up with like a smaller cabin and like, you know, there's no like big center screen where it's easy to touch, whatever. Like, you're driving a car that is like purpose built when you're in this thing. People say, oh, it feels like a spaceship about a lot of cars, but like this, everything is driver focused and it's designed to make it like as easy as possible for you to just be like, boom, change the radio, boom, whatever, so that you don't have to, you can just like focus on driving solely. So good, and it feels so good. Yeah, so I'm lucky. I recently got to drive a Huracan, which was an amazing car. This car, and I thought that was one of the best cars I'd driven. Truly an amazing surprise. This car is every bit that good. They're both at the upper echelon. It's so funny, people are like, oh, which one is better? Well, you're talking about two cars, it's virtually indistinguishable. These are two cars that are some of the best cars you could possibly even consider buying. The turning, the steering is so good and so precise in this car.
it's just amazing. I feel so confident in this car already. It's funny, you drive around and it's a $350,000 car. I should be nervous. But the way that Ferrari engineers this car, you just feel so confident in your abilities and in the car's abilities. This car, you feel like you can do anything. I feel like I'm Superman. Yeah, I will say, I think the Huracan sounds better. I think it's just a function of the fact that it has a larger engine and all that. This car, though, might sound better in the cabin, especially with that window down. That's wild back there. It's just amazing how much you can hear. Oh my God! Holy crap! Wow, that was the first time I really got on it. That's crazy! Did you feel that? That was insane! Oh, that's when the turbo really kicks in. That's what it's all about. Holy crap! I thought it was fast earlier when I was like doing like 3/4 throttle. That is some of the craziest power I've ever felt. 0 to 60 time doesn't quite tell the whole story with this car simply because of the way the turbocharger comes on. There's no lag because it's fast from a get-go, but then you get into the turbo and it's like, oh my God, I cannot believe it's doing that. Oh my God, that is crazy. How is that a real thing? How does a car feel like that? It's so funny, there was so much controversy with Ferrari. Oh, they're going to do turbo. The last naturally aspirated cars will be worth a lot because it feels better. BS. This feels better. This feels amazing. You know, I just drove to California, and the California is awesome, and I really believe it's an amazing car. I really, really like it. But if you want serious performance and serious speed and just totally flat cornering and unbelievable handling, I mean, it's hard to beat this, not in terms of Ferraris, in terms of all automobiles ever. This is the newest, the latest Ferrari is generally the greatest, and this is the latest Ferrari, and there's no question it's great.
So the 488 is an amazing car to drive, but part of the fun comes from the ownership experience. And here to tell me a little bit more about that is this car's owner, entrepreneur, and professional speaker, Barry Habib. Thank you for letting me borrow your 488 for the day.
You got it.
What is it like to come out to your garage and see this thing?
Oh, you'd be lying if you say it didn't put a smile on your face.
Every time still?
Pretty much every time still. You know, I grew up extremely poor, so you know, you come from a position of gratitude and appreciation, and this is just one of those nice things that you could treat yourself and enjoy, and it's beautiful to look at. It's a great experience to be in and drive.
Does the attention ever bother you?
You know, it's kind of nice because I find that most people are pretty respectful. And most people are pretty nice, and I'm very easy with it. You know, I just say, hey, you want to take a picture with the car?
Right.
Let people sit in the car. And
you kind of have to do that, right?
Yeah, you know, most people, they respect it. All they want to do is just take a peek. They say, hey, that's a really nice car, and they're awfully nice about it. So the attention's kind of it's certainly a nice thing.
Do you take it, you know, to the store and everything like that and treat it like an old car?
Oh yeah, I'm not. It's not a museum piece. It's something that I like to drive.
How often are you driving top down with this as opposed to top up?
Every chance I get. If I can tolerate the cold, I want to drive top down.
Nice. What is your favorite part of the Ferrari ownership experience?
There's the anticipation. There's actually ordering the vehicle. There's putting it together, picking things out, doing the research. I mean, that's really part of the wonderful, you know, experience of it too. So it starts there, and then of course the excitement of picking it up, and every time you get in it, every time you drive it, every time you kind of take somebody for a ride and you get to experience it and witness that kind of excitement through somebody else's eyes as well.
Right.
It's really nice.
It is, so it isn't to you just the driving experience. There's more to it, and you still get excited when you're ordering it and picking it out now, even after however many 8, 9 of these.
Oh goodness gracious! Yeah, that is so exciting, and picking it up is exciting. Waiting for it to come in.
Does Ferrari let you track it and all that in production?
They do. They tease you. They send you pictures from the factory that here, you know, you see the shell. You don't even know what the heck it is, but oh man, I got a picture.
Could be anybody's car, right? But you're like, oh, this is going down the line. But, and then so the dealer calls you one day and you're like, this is it, it's coming in.
Well, you know, you're usually bothering the dealer a little bit.
Is it here yet? Is it here yet?
Yeah, right. So yeah, it kind of makes you feel a little bit like a kid.
And there you have it. The 488 Spyder is expensive, but it delivers the whole package. An amazing driving experience, an amazing ownership experience, gorgeous styling, and a lot of really cool features. It's hard to imagine paying $350,000 for a car, but if you're gonna do it, this should be on your short list.